Hey friends, welcome back to Crafter Support. Today I'm going to share with you how to do water slide decals. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Andrea and I do all things crafty. I do cricketing, I do Stampin' Up, I do paper crafts, you name it. If it has to do with paper or vinyl, I'm loving it. So I wanted to work with a new product. This is not a new product, a new for my channel product, and it's the water slide decals. Now these have been around for many years. I've used them in the past. I used them with my business and I sold a ton of them. So I do have people asking me like, have you, how do you start a business? What kind of things did you make when you ran your business? And I sold a lot of products with water decals on them. So what I'm going to do today is give you a quick rundown of what they are, how they work, and then we're going to make a project together. Okay, so the first thing is there's two different kinds of water slides. One is the white, which means you're going to have a white background, and the other is transparent. Obviously, you're going to have a see-through background. All you need is an inkjet printer to make these. There's different brands. This is the Spin It brand, and this is a brand from Hayes Paper Company and Eposh Paper. I don't know. I don't know how to say that. But these two I purchased off of Amazon, and this last one I purchased at Michael's. So it would be in like the aisle with the Spin It, which obviously that's what this was for. Or like the different decal stuff you can get for their Spin It machine, which is how they make the tumblers. Okay, these can also be used under acrylic. I don't do acrylic. I haven't found a brand that I can use that doesn't give me a headache. So you can also seal these with Mod Podge, and we're going to get into all that here in a few minutes. But I just wanted to give you just the straight out. There's white and there's transparent. So the white would be used for a situation where perhaps you have a colored mug and you want to put a design on it. You're going to want that white background to slide on so that way there you can see the design. The see-through one can be used on a white mug, or it can be used on a glass or something like that. So we're going to do both here today. And I just wanted to give you the, like I said, the information on these. But let's get started. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our designs. And actually, I'm going to walk you through that before I actually do it, because I'm just going to print out the designs that I want to put onto my glasses and my mug. And I'm going to do a transparent and a white. So how we're going to do this is I'm just going to print things out. I'm not going to walk you through the whole how to make a design through Cricut Design Space. If you need a video on that, I will link some below that you guys can do that. But I just mainly wanted to focus on the water decals today. So you will need your water slide paper, whether it's transparent or white. You will need a dish or a bowl big enough to soak your transfer in. You will also need, and let me show you the brand that I use, an acrylic sealer. And I use the Aleene's from Amazon. And this particular one does not leave a yellowish finish. And again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's for indoor and outdoor projects. This should be sprayed outside or on like a porch with open windows. If you have like a screened in porch, make sure you open the windows. And it's just, this is what you have to make it into the water slide card or into a water slide decal. So you need that, your bowl of waters, that's what you'll be dipping it in. And you can, if you're using ceramic, you can bake them in the oven to adhere the design onto them better. Or you can cover them with a thin coat of Mod Podge and let that dry. I would suggest using the dishwasher safe kind. Or you can, like I said, you can use acrylic. I just don't have an acrylic that I can personally use. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here is the first set of water slides we're going to work with. So this is the white set. And when you pull this out of the packet, it has the instructions on the back of how you're going to do it. So the first and most important thing is with how to use it is the front glossy surface is the printing surface. So whenever you get these to put into your printer to print out of your inkjet printer, you want to make sure if you have a tray feed to your printer, you want to put the glossy side down. So the back of the paper should be facing you when you put it in your printer, because when you put it into a tray printer, it pulls it in, up, it turns the paper, prints on the front, and then pushes it out. If you have a back loading printer, you're going to slide it with the glossy side facing you. So just make sure you do that because you don't want to ruin it, which you shouldn't really ruin it, I guess. If you put it in wrong, you would just flip it over and put it in the right way, and it should be fine printing on the opposite side. But that's a very important thing, is to make sure you're putting it in correctly into your printer. Okay, and the next thing it says, it just tells you print your image from any inkjet printer and let it dry. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to print out my images, put this in my printer, and print those out, and then we're going to just let it dry. After we let it dry for, my personal preference is 15 minutes, then we're going to start with the Glossy Finish acrylic sealer. And we're going to do 2 to 3 coats. I prefer 3 coats, spraying onto the design once it's on your paper. And you have to wait 30 minutes in between each spray to make sure that it dries before you put your next coat on. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so what I've done is I've printed one set out on the transparent, one set out on the white, and I'm just going to shake this gloss finish really, really well. And then I'm just going to spray over 3 coats, letting it dry for 30 minutes in between each coat. And then we'll be bringing it back to our Cricut, or if you just want to use scissors to cut it out, you can do that as well. But I'm going to be using my Cricut to cut out my designs. So I did the 3 coats of acrylic sealer, which again, this is the Aleene's that I use from Amazon. And you wait in 30 minutes in between each spray that you do. So 3 coats, 30 minutes each. And this is the transparent, this is the white, and now I'm going to take it over to my Cricut Joy Extra and I'm going to cut it out. So I will show you guys how to do that. Remove these. These are completely dry. They've dried overnight. So I know they're nice and dry. And now I have got some glue, a little bit of like off glue onto my mat. I'm going to have to clean that up. So we're going to put our design down like this, and we're going to use a brayer just to make sure it stays nicely to the mat. And this is the light grip mat. I think it would be fine if you only have a standard grip mat as well. And then now I need to pull up the design so we can start cutting. All right, so what we have to do is go back into where we saved this project as is. Now remember, when you save a project and you print it out and you're not going to cut it for a little while, you need to make sure you save it and then do no changes to it once you go back in to pull it up and actually cut it on your machine. So I'm just going into my projects, I'm going to pull up the design, and then I'm going to hit customize. Or you can click make it at this point. I just always like to double check to make sure that I have it exactly the way it was when it was saved. I'm kind of weird about that, but you could just click make it. So I'm looking at the project, it looks fine. Because if you guys have ever saved something and then made like a little tweak and then you forgot to save it the second time, that's kind of why I've gotten to a habit of doing this. Okay, so it looks fine, everything looks good. I'm gonna set my machine for my Cricut Joy Extra, and then we're gonna go to make. And even though we need 2 cuts of this, I'm just gonna cut it once, because if I put in here to make 2 and click apply, it's gonna reset it up differently on the paper, and we can't have any changes to the design. All right, so then we're gonna click continue. And if you go over to the right of the screen, you can put I've already printed. So the next thing I want to do is I want to cut through this paper, and I'm going to pick the printable sticker paper with the green liner. That's just what has seemed to work for me the best. And I'm gonna go ahead and load my machine. So now that we have everything cut, we can remove it from the mat. I've already removed the white ones and I just tuck them in the mugs that I'm going to be using them on. And how you want to do this is just flip your mat over and roll it back. Now if they start to pop off, great. Just peel it off like that and just pull your mat away from your project. Okay, so now we can put our mat away and disregard the extra pieces. Okay, so the next thing that we have to do is decide which mugs or glasses we're going to put them in. So these are the transparent ones. Yes, these are the transparent ones. So I'm going to put this one on a clear white, not clear, on a white Cricut mug, which this is actually a sublimation mug, but you can use a regular mug from the Dollar Tree or a sublimation mug. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to put this one on here. I'm going to put this one onto here. And this one might be a little tricky because it is a little bit bigger, but I think we can manage it pretty well. So remember, you're putting a flat image on a curved surface. That can get a little tricky sometimes. All right, but I'm going to put this one on here. And then I've also am going to put the white one on this. So you can see the white and the transparent on glass. And then you can see the white and transparent on one with color and one with white. So these are going to be really fun. All right, let me try to make some better room here. Okay, so we're going to do this one first. And I do have a mug holder. I just, for the life of me, do not know where it's at right now. And instead of searching, I'm just going to do it this way. Okay, so when you're making these, it's really good to have obviously a clean surface, but also you want a wet surface. So what we're going to do is we're just going to wet the surface of the mug where I'm going to put my design. So we want that wet. And then we want to bring in our little container of water and we want to drop our design into the water. And we want this to get really wet. We want it so that way the acrylic that we sprayed over it is going to slide right off, hence why it's called a water slide. So we just want to soak it in the water for just a little bit. And how you'll know it's ready is you'll be able to move it off of the paper. So give it some time, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 seconds, and just let it sit in the water. And in the meantime, if you need to add more to this, you can just dip your little wipey into here. This is just a lint-free cloth I get at the Dollar Tree. They get like 8 or 9 for $1.25. All right, I'm going to say this is most likely ready. And then you're just going to like shift it. See how it just kind of shifted off of the backing? And then you just line it up where you want it. And then you slide this piece from underneath out. Okay, so you just slide that out and let your design kind of just fall into place basically. And the reason you wet the surface behind it is so you can adjust it if you need to. So I'm just looking at it on, I like it like that. So now you can take a like rubber squeegee or something like that to press out any of the water. But once I get it lined up the way I like it, I just usually take the same cloth, I hold the top, and then I just brush down. And this is just to make sure you get out any air bubbles or like this little piece here tore, it's okay. You can just press it back together. Get out any air bubbles, any extra water that's in there, and you can just wipe it down. And then you just set it aside to dry, because the mugs were actually going to bake. So I'm going to set that one aside, let it dry. Okay, and then the next one I'm going to do is the Cricut mug. Again, we're just going to wet the mug. This does make a little bit of a water mess, but it's fine. And then we're going to dip our design into it. Remember, this is going to be the one that is the transparent one. So obviously with the white water slide, you're going to get a border. You're going to get that like sticker look to the design, where when you're doing transparent, it's going to just look more like almost like a sublimation to it. Again, this is not sublimation, but it kind of gives you more of that look. All right, so we're just gonna, you can flip it over if you'd like. I just kind of let mine sit a little bit in there. Like I said, making sure this stays wet. Keeping this wet is pretty important, because this helps you have the ability to like move your design around once you put it in place. So we're going to give it a minute. Let's see if it's ready to go. Again, the way you know it's ready to go is if you press it and it slides right off like that. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of get most of mine started. It is a little slimy at first, like underneath, but you just line it up and you pull this piece right off. Okay, and see the difference with the transparent or the white. I think the transparent looks the absolute best in my opinion, especially on a white mug like this. And then it's in place, and then I'm just going to hold it with my finger. I'm going to smoochie out the water. Again, you can use a squeegee, anything gentle. It has to be really gentle on here, but I feel like if you just leave it alone, it does its own thing and it'll just dry for you. Okay, I don't see any air bubbles. I don't see anything that's going to keep it from drying well, so I'm going to set that one aside. And then we're going to move on to this one. So these might be the tricky ones, like I said, because they are tapered, and these designs are kind of big. You can make them smaller designs, obviously, but I just wanted to make it easy for you guys, because chances are you're going to be using the same size of mugs, or at least the same, whether they're tapered or not. But just think about, whenever you're measuring for your designs, if the mug is tapered or if the glass is tapered, you're going to want to think about that, because it is a flat design going onto a rounded surface. All right, so we're going to let that go. Again, we're just going to prep this by putting water on it. And I can't stress this enough. The water is key to this, being able to place your design. Okay. So I'm just going to put my little holder right there to kind of keep it straight and bump it up to that. Let's see if this is ready. Yep, it is. I'm going to put it kind of high just because of the tapered. And then I'm just going to make sure that we don't drink off of this end, because I don't think this is in any way, I don't think this is, what do you call it, like food safe. I'm pretty sure it's not food safe. It might be, but see, this is why you need the water under it, because you need to be able to stretch it and move it across the taperedness of your design. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, now we're gonna, and all you kind of do is just gently like peel it aside from each other. And here's where you really see the wrinkles. Okay, we're gonna stretch this stretch that. So I think the tapered one is a lot harder to do. But we can do this, guys. We can still make it look super cute. Okay, now we're just going to press out the extra water and just go from like side to side. The top you can press at the top. And then, but unfortunately, once you move it, it's like the whole thing moves. But you kind of need that wiggle room to get that water out. So we'll just keep pressing. Press all that out that you possibly can. Kind of feel like this because of the, oh, there we go. Okay. Now I'm going to take my little rag here and I'm just going to, I feel like it's that my freedom part needs to come down a little bit. And I think it, oh, I see, because it's spread over. Gotcha. Okay. So we're just going to press out those lines. And again, you may want to think about doing a tapered, doing something tapered in the size that you chose. So we're just going to press this out, but I still want you guys to see what it looks like whenever you use a tapered glass on, or the transparency on this. Not okay with this. This is going to bug me. There we go. So basically I should have just made this one a little bit bigger, or a little bit smaller, I'm sorry. And then I think it would have went on really well. So it's not hard to do. I don't want you guys to think that this was just user error on my part. I just made it too big, but we're going to let that sit because then you guys can see genuinely what happens. And I'm good with that. Okay, so we're going to put this aside. And actually it doesn't look too bad. There's just like one wrinkle that I'm not happy with. But when it's all said and done, I think it's still going to look cute. Okay, we're going to let that sit, and then we're going to do the white on the glass. So again, we're just going to put our design into our water. We can kind of flatten it out, make it, but it still curls a little bit just because there's paper on the backing and it's getting wet. And then you can, like I said, flip it over if you need to. I'm going to wet this glass. And I think it's going to be a little bit easier because this design's a little bit smaller. So we'll see that you'll be able to see the difference. And again, with these mugs, while that's all soaking, these I will put in the oven and I will bake at 220 degrees for, I think it's, or I'm sorry, 200 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. And then they'll be like more permanent, but you'll have to hand wash these, and I wouldn't put them in the dishwasher because basically it is just this acrylic over top of your printed ink. But it's super cute if you want to make like a picture mug or something like that that someone's going to use for, say, pencils or pens at their desk or something like that. That's really cute. Okay, I think this is going to be ready. I'm going to dip that. And remember, we're just going to, oh, this one's sliding off really easily. And we're just going to put it up kind of high again because of the tapered. And then I'm just going to pull it like that. And we're going to press out all of the wrinkles. Again, I'm putting it high, which, like I said, you wouldn't have to put it this high if you measured it a little bit smaller, if you made it a bit smaller. Okay. I honestly thought whenever I did this, I was like, oh, they won't be too big. Measure, always measure. Okay, and then make sure your fingers are wet so you can press the design out. And then we're just gonna, once you get one piece in place, just kind of like Try not to edge from that anymore, but it'll be fine, right? There we go. We're just going to press that out. Okay, and then we're going to let these set to dry on their own. This could take a couple hours maybe, because we want to get all that water out of it. But like I said, if you just like work with it, or at this point you could still take this off if you decide no, it's not working for you. You can take this off while it's still wet and you can just resize it. But for the video's sake, I'm just telling you guys, don't do what I did. Make sure you, if you're doing different sizes, or if you're doing different shapes of mugs or sizes of mugs, you measure. Okay, that's still not too bad. I would still set this out. Okay, so we're gonna set this aside. We're gonna give it all time to dry. We're gonna clean up our mess. And then I'm going to show you what it looks like when everything is done. Okay, so here's how they turned out. I'm going to show you the worst one first, just because I knew that this one was not going to be good. All right, so definitely I should have shrunk this down, made it smaller. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but because I wasn't able to flatten it out, it does have some air bubbles in it. This one was not a win. So I would not suggest doing anything larger than, like, I think I did a 3. I'll just show you what I did. Okay, so I did about a 3" by 3" on this one, and I probably should have done a 2 by 2 because it was just too large. That was the only thing. Everything worked out. All of the acrylic gloss that I used, everything was perfectly fine. It's just I made the image too big, so that was my fault. So definitely think about that. Now, because this was a more circular piece, it was a little bit easier to lay. It was a little bit smaller, and this one turned out very, very nicely. I really liked how this one turned out. So this is the white on the glass, and it still feels smooth. There's no like bubbles or anything in it. So I like how this one turned out. And I think the mugs turned out the absolute best. This is the transparent one, and it turned out really pretty. I'm sorry, there's like glares on it from my lighting, but this one turned out really pretty. It does have some air bubbles in. This is where I should have used a squeegee, even though I haven't in the past and they've turned out fine. The squeegee would have helped get those little air pockets out that I couldn't see when making it. So definitely try that. And then there was this one. So I really like this one. I think you could make a thinner border for it, but if you can see, here is where it was torn and you can barely see the separation. So if you do, when you first start making these, do a couple on one mug, you know, just to get used to how they need to lay and things like that. So have like an older mug you can lay it over top of. And then I did bake these in a 200-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes. I think I did like 17 minutes is what I chose. That's just what worked for me, but here's what they look like. Like I said, I think they turned out very nicely. And this is the only one that I kind of thought was a fail, but it's okay because we make things and we make mistakes and we learn from our mistakes. So the next time, definitely I will size it smaller because of the taper. But other than that, guys, I think they turned out really cute. And so just think about if you want to do, like, if you have a family reunion coming up or something like that, and maybe you want to put your great grandmother's picture on a mug, or take a picture of all of the children in the family and make little mugs. That would be really cute. You could do so much with this. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Hopefully some of my mistakes you won't make. And until next video, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.